This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, all selectmen are present. Let's make sure. This. Okay, bear with me. Oh, I can't win. Okay, hear from the public. Do we have anybody from the public who would like to speak tonight?
Hi, Catherine.
Hey there, Joan.
Yes,
Okay, let's make sure we get everybody recorded who's on here in terms of for our minutes. Hi, Joan. Just good to hear from you.
yes. All right. My question is, can I talk when you talk about the Tremco house, which is on the agenda for 7B?
Normally we'd have you speak at under persons to be heard.
Yes, I know that, but I'm asking.
Okay, any objections from the other selectmen?
No objections.
No objection.
Okay,
Thank you.
Can you ask if there are any other call-ins, please?
yes. Do we have any other call-ins? Because we want to record that you're present in the meeting.
Kay Warren.
Keith,
Hey, Kay.
Keith Lipker.
Hi.
And Keith
Hi.
Lipker? Chris, did you get that? Keith Lipker?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get back to here. I'm looking for all of you. There we are. Okay, first selectmen's briefing. I got a few things. Just want to make sure I've got my notes here on this. Okay, the COVID update, I sent that to the two selectmen. What's now being recommended is the buildings where we can have high transmission rates, we should be wearing masks. So we had already set it up so that we're wearing masks in here and the public wears masks. We're open, just wear a mask. I will tell you that I think it was one day, was it Linda, that we went through 25 masks? Because people didn't bring them with them.
We went through a lot, and then we went into the backup boxes. You know, we're just going through masks like crazy.
Yeah, so we're supplying the town with masks, apparently. A couple things. Under
Regarding that, Catherine, do we have an abundant supply, a backup supply? I hadn't talked to Mike about that in a long time, but my understanding was we had a lot.
we're ordering more. We have some now. Okay, we think we're okay at this point, but we're ordering more because
Okay.
it's not going to go away that fast. Okay, I'd like to give you an update on our roads. And hang on a second. We have, I think it was 4 roads that are need the roads that we have not addressed in a way that we're reasonably comfortable with are Perry Hill, part of the road, Hillside, the north end, it's in the north end, Waterfall Road, and Bicknell. And then Cushman, we're also looking at more on Cushman because of serious crack. Now, what Joe has indicated is that the other roads are they're in serviceable condition at this point, but they're not great. So they'll go back to those later. Now they need to focus on these other ones. Perry Hill, if you've been down Perry Hill, you'll notice that as you get closer to 89, right down there where the curve is, there's quite a bit is washed away. That's a big job. They're going to have to tear that up, and they did tell me they won't have to block the entire road, but it will definitely be one lane while they do it, and it could take as much as a week. So depending.
How's that new side loader working?
I was just about to say, they love it. It's only taking 2 guys, not 3, to do what they're doing, and it's happening twice as fast.
Excellent.
Okay, so it's working out very, very well.
Good.
I would like to convey to you some of the issues they have with their equipment. So the mower, the 0-turn mower, only goes in the left direction. That's going to be probably a $3,500 repair bill. The 2014 Freightliner dump truck, there's a repair on that. That's about 1,000. The roller, it's 1972. It's broken. They're figuring that's is probably only, they think it's only a fuel pump. A new one is 40,000, so they're definitely trying to fix it. 10-wheeler dump truck, it's a 1992 Mack. They blew the front end driver, rear end, and that's going to be probably 3,000 to 4,000. It has 600,000 miles on it. So what I can do is I think we'll kind of put an inventory together of the equipment that they have, so we can take a look at how old some of it really is and where we need to plan for the future. Another one is they had to, let's see, the mini excavator they did fix. That was 5,441. The grader they had to fix, that was a day's labor. I guess it was the seat in the loader part of it or whatever. Wouldn't go up. You know how you have a chair where you can make it go up and down? It was way down. And so they had to fix that. And then apparently something happened with the backhoe this weekend. So they're looking to get that fixed as well. So old equipment. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. You talking about more equipment?
No, I hit the end of it.
Okay. As you know, we got an email from our state senator, Dan Champagne,
Yeah,
and
about the storm.
I had a couple of conversations with him, and he is trying to appeal to the governor and whoever else that he could appeal to for funding to reimburse us. Following that, I had a real brief conversation with Joe, and I suggested that he talk to you about compiling a list of any expenses that we've incurred or damages.
We're already doing that.
And Dan would, I know some of the stuff we're still evaluating and some other work still has to be done, but Dan is asking if we could get him as a comprehensive a list as possible, understanding there'll be outstanding issues. He's anxious to go forward on that, so hopefully we can get some relief. It's not only our town; it's several towns in this area that were hit pretty bad.
Right. I've talked with Pomfret and Wellington. Yes, and Joe is working on that. I would like to add that I don't know if you know, but the town garage got hit by lightning, and so that blew out his desktop. He's been without a desktop for ever since that happened, and we're waiting for a laptop for him. Well, not a laptop, but something he can use when he's out there working on these roads and looking at the estimates for everything to put right into it. In the meantime, we've given him some FEMA format things to work with.
Yeah. We had some real major lightning hits around here. I know we don't know where in location to our home, but we've still got electricians working. We've got partial outages on a number of electrical outlets and everything in our own home because of that.
Yeah.
I've never seen storms as severe as they were going through.
Right, and I agree, and I appreciate Senator Champagne's Champagne's assistance. Right now, like you said, we're actually working on pulling things together, but it's not like you can just go, this is what it all is. It's kind of, they're still trying to assess some of it.
Yeah.
And I certainly have some communications from Pomfret on what they presented to Champagne. Good. At least getting his attention. I think they were the ones who really started getting his attention on it. And so I'm glad you had a conversation with him. Good. Okay. So, but when it comes to the machinery that we have, that's not a storm issue.
Yeah, and talking to Joe, he thought there might be a couple of things that were damaged as a result of work that they were doing in the heavy rains and wetness. But my thought is if there's anything that we can in any way relate to that storm or any damage to our equipment as a result, I'd rather put it in and have them say it didn't qualify than to leave something out.
I agree. So, we'll make sure that he's taking a good hard look at that stuff. All right. We have two issues in terms of the support here that's needed. One, we'd like to increase the building clerk from 30 to 35 hours per week so she can provide some clerical assistance in the selectmen's and the tax offices. I know in the selectmen's office, we have a lot of files that have to be gone through. And this is work that, in particular, Katie would be great at. The other one is the finance department is overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed with difficulties with the new finance system on top of their regular duties. They have been. It's, certainly they've made more progress with understanding the system, but they're also experiencing a heavier workload with DEMIS and FEMA reporting. I mean, they just got the FEMA report for August of 2020 done within the last month and a half. It all took that long. And the reporting requirements for all of that. So they're going to be looking for someone that can also provide support in part-time support in putting minutes and agendas out on the town website so that they can focus on the finance responsibilities that they have. And so I've asked them for some more information about that. I think they mentioned also backup on the finance system for accounts payable and receivables and grants management, the work that they do in finance. And so I asked them to put together something on that. I've already gotten a letter from Cheryl that I will send out to you where she described what's needed. I've asked for some additional information, and once I get that, I'll send that out to you as well. I would like to talk about that in our next meeting. When it comes to the building clerk thing, though, I would really like to pursue that right away because we need the help right away with that.
I assume we have a bit of a buffer zone in our payroll account in that line item.
Yes, we do.
Do you need a motion for that, Catherine, or?
Yes, I'd appreciate a motion.
I'll move to add that to our agenda.
Got it. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Catherine, I will move to increase the hours of our building clerk to 35 hours
Thank you.
at your discretion on time limits.
Thank you. And do I have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Aye. Motion passes. Okay, so let's see what else I want to make sure you have here. Also, we have to remember that we have, I had indicated, and Bill, you've already been in and signed the union contract. And so Roger, if you get a
I'll be in
chance.
tomorrow.
Yeah, very good. Perfect. And we'll get all the rest of the signatures. So that's all in good order. And it's, it's kind of like about time. It's my understanding that when we do the union contracts and we approve them, so to speak, that the town employees who are non-union get the same amount of increase. I haven't seen anything in our minutes that indicates that we make motions on that kind of thing. It's just happened as a matter of course. But I would really like us to do that so we have a really good audit trail.
Yeah, my recollection was we did historically do that at a selectmen's meeting. I thought by formal vote, but I suggested and certainly support that, Catherine.
Okay.
Would you like to make a motion to add that to the agenda?
Yes, please.
I'll move to add that consideration to the agenda.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we want to talk about that now?
I'll make a motion to increase the salaries or hourly rates proportionate with the union contract to all of our appointed personnel.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Let me just take a quick look here again at the agenda. I want to make sure I discuss this in the right place. I know we're going to talk about the American Rescue Plan further on down in the agenda. But there's an opportunity here. I think, where is she? Oh, I think we lost. Oh, Melissa's here. Okay. So I am going to bring it up here under this because it just came up recently. So the American Rescue Plan is in general COVID related, COVID recovery related. And we have a situation, and I'm sure it's not the only one, where someone was disenfranchised, in town by losing their job, or I can't remember if it was laid off or lost their job. And we won't get into all the specifics, but it's someone who basically got another job or regained their job, but cannot get current with their rent. They're a month behind and cannot find a way to get current. To me, that absolutely qualifies for American Rescue Funds because they're supposed to be helping people who are disenfranchised. So, so we have a situation where this person has, I don't know, 900 plus dollars is owed in rent. And Melissa has a bit of a budget, but it's not, what she has is just donations that come from people that she's able to help people with in this situation. And where this really ought to come from for this particular kind of situation is from the ARP fund. So I'd like to suggest that you think about us setting aside or earmarking, if you will, not necessarily permanently, but earmarking something like $20,000 from that fund for people like what was described to me, a single mom with a kid who can't make the rent because they lost their job during COVID and then got another job or got reinstated and can't get caught up. So, and the thing is, when Melissa, I'm going to let her speak in a minute. When Melissa, when she gives out the funds that were donated, she has a vetting process that she goes through. It's pretty stringent vetting process as to need and make sure that they meet the requirements. And so I don't know if, I'm bringing this up under Selectmen's update to give you a heads up. I don't know if you want to add this to the agenda tonight, or if you want to discuss it under ARP potential.
I'd like to add it under ARP, but I'd hope that Melissa has time to stay on with us because I would like to talk to her a little more about it, and I think we ought to be open for discussion on this, but I think we also ought to try to educate ourselves of it may not just, once we implement this sort of thing for one individual, we may be exposing ourselves to a lot greater potential for others. I know I've heard from several families in town who aren't able to make their mortgages. And
Was that the result of them losing their jobs because of COVID or having their hours cut? Because it has to be a valid COVID thing.
It was one of these things I said that I would inquire and that we were talking about these funds, but I didn't get into personal information with them.
Okay, and the person who should do that, they should reach out to Melissa if they're having those difficulties, because that's what Family and Youth Service is for. And she has the qualifications to be able to assess their true situations. And also understands what the COVID requirements, the COVID relief requirements are. So that's the best person for them to talk to. I would encourage you to encourage them to give her a shout. So anyway, and I wasn't sure how long Melissa could be on tonight. That's why
I can stay on for a little bit.
You can? Okay, good. Then we'll move on. Let me see if I had anything else under here. Nope. I think we can move on. All right, next, reopening, I'm sorry, acceptance of minutes of regular meeting of July 19th. If you've had an opportunity to look through them, can I get a motion?
I had, as you and Roger are aware, I had to leave with a family emergency a little
Oh,
early. Um, I just had and maybe it was after I left, but I noticed under, hold on one second, item C under new business, it indicates that, well, we were discussing about the potential of the notification system we're considering with Text My Gov.
yes,
And did we get any information regarding
yes, I
checking
did.
their references from Wolcott or anything?
Yes, I did. And in fact, in Wolcott in particular, I talked with their IT. They have an IT manager. So it was good to talk turkey with someone from my field. And he said it's been very successful. They do want to get it rolled out to more people. And let me just check something here. He found they're using it more to push out information than the other feature, but they're looking at using the other feature. And oh, somebody dropped off. So he was quite pleased with it.
Catherine, did he give you any idea? I put a call in for the mayor, but I didn't hear back from him. But
The mayor of where?
Wolcott,
Okay. Then why
um,
am I calling?
well, I just called because I wanted to get myself educated. But I'm curious, the person that you talked to, I know their population is about 3 times what ours are.
Yep.
Did they give you any idea on how successful they've been with getting people to sign up for this?
They just, I'm trying to find my notes, darn it. I thought they had around 500 so far. And they said what they're doing is they're trying to get the word out every way that they can. So when they have any events, they have, people doing signups, that kind of thing. And, he was very positive. So what did the mayor say?
I said the mayor hadn't got back to me yet.
Oh,
I put a
no,
call into his office. His name is Tom Dunn.
yeah, and trying to figure out where I put that. It's right here.
I'm just curious, how long it's taken them to get that 500 and what perhaps a ballpark figure, the percentage of households that I mean, they've got, I believe their population is just over 16,000.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how that relates to households.
no, I don't know how that relates to households either. Um, his response was he thought it was an excellent tool to engage with the public. They were using it more along the lines of putting out information about blocked roads and things. They have a lot of construction going on down there on their
Yeah.
roads. And so that's, they're they were doing, in a sense, they were doing the same thing I do during storms, but I'm putting it out on Facebook. I need to make sure, from my perspective, I'm trying to get it out to everybody that we can get it out to.
Yeah.
And not everybody's on Facebook. And so it's pretty limiting. Yeah, and I talked with someone in Pennsylvania as well about it. It was another name that he had given us. And in their case, they were not as big by any means. They said the hardest thing was getting people to sign up for it. But that in all, they thought it was a really good tool. So I know that the Text My Gov folks have a marketing campaign. We have, we've got some means ourselves. We've got our citizen, we've got events that we have in town, we have Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got, we actually have a Twitter town account. And we have, what was the other technology?
The Citizen.
Citizen, that's a given, but that's, a once a month thing. But, and we have where we can put it up in local businesses, things like that, in the library's information.
In our churches.
Our churches. to me, the point is to be able to tell people when there are emergencies that are not, by the way, we would couple this with Everbridge. Everbridge is free for what we're looking for. They would send out text, phone calls, and emails for big emergencies, not some of the kinds of things we would put out. They wouldn't be sending out updates on road blockages. Okay, they send them out on, you know, something pretty much a lot bigger because it's going through TN. And we talked with that person at length, and he was great to work with. So I think it's a given we would try to get people to sign up for that, and that we would have that. But I think, you know, what they told us from the very beginning, the TextMyGov people, that the success with this is how you market it. They didn't use those words, but that's what it is. And to me, it would be pretty terrific to be able to have people get texts say, these roads are closed in town, you know, during a storm. These, you know, here's where we have outages in general. And, you know, any other kinds of information that they want to get.
I didn't mean to get us off track here, Catherine, but could we have the minutes just reflect that we discussed checking references, mentioned Tallinn, Walcott in particular?
Oh, yep, we sure
That we were
can.
gonna,
Walcott, and I will give the name of the other town as well.
and
Plus, yeah.
And also under B, under new business, and this may have transpired after I left, I didn't, but it indicates Mr. Williams stated that he would evaluate his continued participation. Is that something I missed or?
You must have missed it because he most clearly said it.
Okay.
They're having an Our Town, Our Future meeting tonight. So we'll see what he's doing with that. I attended the Economic Development Committee's meeting the other night. He was fine there. They did not have a quorum, I might add, but we all had discussions. And for Our Town, Our Future, I'm working with Mike Gantic on getting an appointment, a meeting with DOT to talk about the very things that Our Town, Our Future brought up in terms of out here with the crosswalk and the speed and all of that, plus the school, the signage at the school. School's going to start in September, actually end of August. And, you know, we really need the attention of DOT to help us make it safer for the people who are pulling in and out of that school.
And the only other thing I had relating to the minutes under new business, item A, I had brought up that I did not think that the senior housing was a town building. And I kind of followed up on that, did a little research. And I, in fact, as chairman of the housing authority at the time, signed the land lease for 99 years.
Yep.
That we leased that property to the housing authority. So by definition, it is not a town office. It is not a town building. We certainly want to cooperate wherever we can. And one of the reasons that I happened to talk to Dan Champagne was I had a conversation with Dennis Poitras, and they're having some severe, as we've heard from them before. That's why we waived the pilot program with them, but several years. But they're having some severe financial problems. So I had cause to talk to him, and I also called Dan because I don't know if there's a portion that from the American Relief Fund that is designated for housing authorities or whatever. And Dan didn't know either.
I haven't seen it, and I read the whole thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I do want to say is I believe, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the town does in fact own the building. We lease the land, we own the building. The housing authority is a steward of the building. Chris, did I get that right? We actually read it.
That was the impression that I got from Dennis when I talked to him last week.
And we'll share that document with you, Bill.
Yeah, I'd like to, I think that's an error, and I don't think Dennis was even aware that there was a land lease where we had to lease the land. And I don't mean to get technical on this thing, but you end up with funding issues and a possible audit problem with that. So I don't want to make assumptions. If there's something like that, I'd like to see it in writing.
Oh, yeah, we would not, in terms of making an assumption, are you saying that the town should not have an assessment done on that building because you're thinking we don't own it?
I'm thinking we ought to look into it and find out whether or not we can in fact do that, because I know this assessment is part of what we think is eligible for the federal
Yep.
funding.
Yep, it's HVAC and everything else.
Right, right. And I'm not saying they don't need it, and I'm not saying we shouldn't. That's why I even brought up the school the last time, which is not reflected in the minutes. But I want to go slow and make sure we're not causing more of a problem than we're trying to help with.
Actually, I thought what we talked about was the fire station.
Roger brought up the fire station, and he's absolutely right. I brought up the school, and you had mentioned you thought the school had their own funds for that.
Yeah, I think they'll be filing for their funds in mid-August. So
But anyway, if those three sections just could be modified to reflect the things we just discussed briefly, I'd appreciate it.
could you confirm that, Chris?
Yep.
Okay. And we'll provide you with the document that says who owns the building.
If I remember right,
Actually, you know
we
what?
had extensive grant programs that, as chairman of the housing authority, I had applied for the
Right,
park and the elderly housing and even the senior center
right.
as first selectman in that. It was, I believe, after the 99-year lease, the building then reverts to the ownership of the town if we wanted it. But that's why I just like to make sure we're all on the same page on that.
That's the land, not necessarily the building, but what I think would be a good idea is for us to take that document and have town council take a look at it
Fine.
and give us instead of us being laymen looking
You
at it,
mean
trying
the,
to figure it out.
you mean the lease, the 99-year lease?
The document, whatever it is that we have that
There's
says,
probably boxes of grant applications, but yeah, that's a good place to start.
okay, okay. And Chris, you know the document I'm talking about. It's the one you and I looked at. All
Yeah.
right. Like I said, we'll provide it to you, but we'll also to the two of you, and then we'll make sure that we get an opinion on it.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Chris, you're all covered on what those adjustments are.
Yep.
Very good. With that, Bill, do you want to make a motion?
I will make a motion, with the exception of the 15 minutes I missed, to approve the minutes as revised.
Actually, maybe it would be, if I can do a friendly amendment or whatever to that, maybe it would be more appropriate. Roger, you were at the meeting, right?
Yes.
Maybe it'd be more appropriate if Roger did that and I seconded it, and with your amendments, Bill.
I have no problem.
Would you be comfortable with that, Roger?
Just so I'm moving to accept the minutes per the amendments.
Yes, with the amendments that Bill made.
Yep.
Okay, I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Right.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
I, with the notation that I left at 8:48.
Yeah, I think it's in the minutes already.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Moving along here. Okay, reopening strategies. Okay, electronics relating to the holding of hybrid meetings. First of all, the doors are open. The front door is. And we put up, Bill, I showed you what the PPE was in general.
Yes.
Put that up, and people have been coming in, and like we were saying, they're using a lot of masks. And I did send, I printed for you, Bill. I think I sent it to both of you, though. Roger, I don't know if you had a chance to see it. The initial estimate that we got from Savage Systems for the technology needed for the hybrid meetings here in the town offices, this town office building.
I don't know that I got that.
Okay, you would have gotten it this afternoon.
Nope, I didn't get it.
Okay, so I can talk you through it. But the, so the technology, give me a second here, is what they gave was everything except, and this is for all three conference rooms, the Selectmen's conference room, the large conference room downstairs, and the boards and commissions room. That's a smaller room downstairs. And the large conference room already has a TV in it, a good sized TV. So the equipment that they said it was needed, and this is to be able to conduct hybrid meetings using Zoom or whatever, Zoom, Skype, whatever, is in total is, the initial estimate is about $1,400. What's missing from the estimate is the cost of two small TVs or to go into the smaller conference rooms, because we already have the one in the big conference room. And the technology is a tiny Elite Desk, tiny computer micro tower PC with what goes with it. It has Wi-Fi, Windows 10. It's got and that each one of those is $260, and the full price for three is $780. The desktop to wall monitoring monitor mounting bracket, that's to put it up on the wall for those two. And that one, or actually for the three. Although I think they might have overstated that one a little bit, because I think we already have one mounted up there, but I don't know if they have to mount it differently in the large conference room, which will be focused, if I understand correctly, the when they do the webcam, that's another piece. Those are $90 a piece, and that has video calling, clear stereo audio, light correction, works with Skype, Zoom, whatever, and a wireless mouse and keyboard for each of these setups. So I anticipate that we're going to need, well, we will need the other two TVs, and there may be a relatively small installation charge. So I'm estimating this at, I think I put it out as $2,000 to $2,500 at most. And these would be American Rescue Fund monies, because it's right in line with the communications.
Move we appropriate.
So that I wanted to, that's considering the electronics related to the holding of hybrid meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I will second that motion. I got a couple of questions though, Catherine.
Sure. Okay.
And
So discussion.
I went over the proposal that you gave me a copy of this afternoon, and did are there cameras that are coming with these things?
Yep.
Yep.
They're in there?
It has the, bear with me, I'm looking at the HD Pro webcam.
That's it. Okay.
Yep.
So there'll be one installed in each of the three rooms?
Yes.
Okay.
This is to cover all three rooms.
I wonder if one in the large is sufficient.
According to them, it is. It would be focused on the table area. And if someone wanted to speak, they would come up to the table area.
Okay. Okay.
Which
So
makes
we'll
sense.
adjust to that.
And if you have more than one camera, now you have to manage them. So that,
Yeah, that's true.
We're trying to keep it simple, and based upon what I see for the list here and my IT experience, I thought they came up with something pretty good. And I never expected to be as the price, this lower price.
Shh.
I know. So I am estimating it at what, 2,000 to 2,500.
Yeah, I think we ought to give ourselves a little buffer, and I'm comfortable with that. My only other question, and I think we ought to do it regardless, but as I read the rescue plan,
Yep.
if they deny something and we've already committed to buying it, then we're totally responsible.
Right.
Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yep.
One thing I did forget to mention during my update is that I will be meeting with, let's see, Mike D'Amato to help put this together, talking with a few colleagues in neighboring communities and looking, we're all going to get together to talk about, what each of the municipalities is looking at. And it's one more way to double check ourselves. But definitely when it comes to the providing the meeting, hybrid meetings, that is covered. That is communications. It's COVID related in terms of keeping people safe.
Yeah.
This is the one I'm not concerned about.
Oh, and I think roughly everything that we've discussed in generalities with, to me, is obvious that it's for the public interest and being prompted by what we went through this past 15 months. But I'm just curious, and I just think we ought to keep that in the back of their mind. As I preface my statement here, I think we ought to go ahead with these cameras and doing that anyway, because I think it's very beneficial to the town and our communications. But I think we ought to keep in mind that having dealt with the feds for years and knowing that they get definitive at the end of awarding grants, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
So one of the things we're doing is, as we look at different things that we feel that the money could be applied to, is we're also looking at, are there other things, other grants that we're somehow missing
Yeah.
that could do the same thing? And in this case, I'm not seeing anything, but we're certainly putting that bit of an acid test against everything we're talking about before we even bring it before this board.
Yeah, and I think it's an excellent idea to compare notes with other communities in our area. I think that'll help our argument.
Well, not only that, they're looking at maybe there's some ways to work together on some
Yep.
things, depending on what it is.
Yep.
Right. So in this case, we've already, we lost a person. Roger will be back in a second, I hope. Roger?
Yes, sorry, I had to run off. All good. Yay.
I will move Roger's motion.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. And we'll get cracking on that. By the way, I am hearing from more boards that they're looking for hybrids, so that's a good thing. Okay. Next, proposed Tremco House project. We provided the information in your packet. It's also out on the town website under this meeting. In terms of what's been, finally, Mr. Hurd got back to us. And he is now saying it will be $6,000 to do this, come out with this rehabilitation plan. And he's saying the initial payment is due prior to the start of any of his work, which is $1,000. And the other $5,000 is at completion of the phasing plan for the rehabilitation.
Now we've got 5,000 that
We
is
have
in our
5,000.
that's in our budget right now
We only
for
have
this.
5.
And am I right? And Joan can correct me on this, or Kay. You've got 5,000 from your end of it that you pledged to this? No.
No,
No,
they pledged 2,500.
2,500.
And in our
Okay.
capital improvement plan, we have 2,500.
Okay.
Now, one
No,
thing I do want to,
Catherine,
yes,
5,000 is in the budget, the capital project budget for the town to spend.
it's called in the capital improvement plan, and it says 2,500 is funded. If you look at the capital improvement plan in the book, and you look down below, it talks about where funding is coming from. I'm pretty darn sure
No,
that
it's in, if you look in the budget itself for the
I'm-
project, it says $5,000.
the, bear with me. I want to get to the things that I'm talking about. It says, if you look, Linda, I'm sorry, Joni, if you look at the budget package, do you happen to have it?
Budget package, you're talking about the capital improvement budget?
I'm talking about the whole budget package, you know.
Yes, well
okay,
aware of.
I want you to go to the back. Bear with me. Stay with me here. Go
Yep.
back to the, probably the 5 pages in from the back. You'll see Town of Ashford on the top, and it says 2021 capital projects. And what
Yeah.
it shows, if you get to that page, is it shows under 2021, it shows the $5,000 under town projects, Ashford Historical Properties. It says
That's
5,000.
correct.
When you go down below, you'll see suggested funding, Ashford Historical Society, 2,500.
That's correct.
Okay, and so
First the town pays the 5,000. And then once that's done, we will provide the 2,500. I already talked to Chuck on this because he was at that meeting when this was all prepared.
what you're saying is the town has to front the 2,500 that you've already said you were going to give us. Is that, and then we have to be reimbursed. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not true the way you're saying it. It's budgeted for $5,000. We did the form for that. Because I asked Chuck this question specifically.
But that's why it says $5,000 next to Ashford Historical Properties.
That's,
but then it
that's
says suggested
town
funding
property.
down
That's
below.
correct.
Yeah.
So
suggested funding is below.
5,000 is budgeted for the town to spend on this project. And then I said to Chuck, the society will not donate. We said we would donate $2,500 until the town spent that money. And then it's not half and half like you've been saying all along, Catherine. It's
So
5,000 up front, and then we would pay the 25.
Well,
And talk to Chuck if you want. I don't care.
okay, then we'll hold this off and we'll talk to Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Gina Burnham. I was also at that meeting, and it came up during that meeting, and it was clarified that I think we even suggested that it not say Ashford Historical Properties because that was getting confused with the Historical Society, but that the capital expenditure from the town was 5,000 and our part was 2,500.
Right. So let me make sure in terms of how you're saying this.
Can I just throw something in?
Well,
I don't.
Are you
Okay.
saying it's $7,500 overall?
No.
Okay, I just want to double check that.
No, because when you because it'll depreciate. The reason this was stated is Chuck suggested we give some money towards it, so it'll show the townspeople we support this. You know, that's all in the minutes and everything for the projects when that meeting was held.
So here's
and
what
we said, sure. Both Gina and I approved of that with Chuck and Ralph.
All right. So, well, that's all well and fine, but I am looking at the budget package, okay? And I'm looking at Ashford Historical Properties, which is not the Historical Society, it's properties. $5,000 has been approved for the capital project, okay?
Correct.
And then down where it says suggested funding, it says, when you look at these other ones, LOSIP, Town Aid Road, okay, all of those things are, and the Ashford Historical Society, those are all, I'm going to call it
funding sources.
Exactly. So what you're saying that the town would spend $5,000 and then the Ashford Historical Society would do what with the 2,500?
We would donate 2,500 towards that, like it says in the budget.
Donate it. What does that mean?
It's a funding. It's helping the town to pay for that cost is what it's doing, Catherine. I mean, it's pretty clear.
So
I'm sorry, I must be an
what
idiot.
I was
I didn't
confused
say you
with-
were an idiot. Don't put words in my mouth.
But you're saying we spend the money and then you will come in afterwards and you will donate 2,500 to help us offset our costs. Is that correct?
Just like any of those other fundings.
Right. That's where I said we're fronting it.
Sources. Yeah,
fronting
that
it
helps
out
to defray the cost.
We're fronting it
Look in the budget.
we're fronting it out of the capital non-recurring budget. The
Correct.
Capital non-referring fund. Okay, when I said fronting, that's what I meant. And when I
Yep.
said 2,500 that you have, it would be reimbursing us for what we 2,500 towards what we spent. So I don't think we're saying anything different from each other. I just use different terminology.
Yes, but I want it understood that we will do that once the town pays, and because let me say what goes along with that, Catherine, is I've asked if you ever found the folder that
I've read
Ralph
the whole
left.
folder.
Pardon me?
I've read the whole folder. It's that big.
Okay. We presented what we call talking points to the Board of Selectmen January 21st, 2020.
Right.
And the first number one on that talking point list was to hire a professional expert, a
Yes.
historical architect. That's where we were trying to work with the town with through Ralph was to start with that. And then the second thing was to have a plan. The third thing was to the Board of Selectmen to appoint a committee. And the fourth thing was the capital improvement project forum. And that was our talking points to help the town with this project. But we were never contacted on any of this, so I don't know.
Well,
I
don't
mean,
know. All I know is I've talked with you.
You haven't talked with me very much, though. You were supposed to get back to me after you talked to Bob Hurd, and I hadn't heard a word from you.
We didn't get something from Bob Hurd until when, Bill? Friday?
the night before our last meeting, right? Something
Well,
like
I didn't even know that was done. So, I mean, it would be courteous if you could keep us in the loop, because we're trying to help the town. And the Tremco House, let me make this clear. The Tremco House is not for the Historical Society. It was in the grant for a museum.
And it's on part of it's on a floodplain.
I'm not going to get into with you this time around.
Mr.
It's not on the floodplain. That house is not in the floodplain.
The back of it is. I asked Mr. Hurd to take that into consideration when he came up with his plan, and he said he was going to do that.
The back of what house? What are you talking about?
Behind Tremco.
What about behind? We're talking about just the Tremco house.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about behind the Tremco house.
All right. Yes, Bill.
couple of questions.
Yep.
So first of all, I'm ready to make a motion to go along with the proposal from Bob Hurd, but I need clarification. Are we looking at a pool of money of 5,000 in total or 7,500 in total?
No, we're looking at 6 because he's saying it's 6,000.
I know, no, I'm saying what we've budgeted
We only
for.
have 5,000.
No, you don't add the 2,500 bill to the 5 or 6.
The answer to the question is
5,000.
we've anticipated an expenditure for this year not to exceed 5,000.
Correct.
That's correct.
So if we were to approve this, we would probably have to go to the Board of Finance and ask for an additional $1,000.
Yes, we
That's
would.
correct.
Catherine, I would say that we could do this in two ways. One, we could do a conditional improvement that the Board of Finance has no problem with that and suggest they take it out of fund balance. Or we delay Utah and wait till you have a chance to discuss this at one of their meetings or with Chuck and make a decision at our next meeting.
I'm just remembering the last time I went to them for money. As you can, as
How
Bill,
could you forget?
as you can appreciate. Okay.
Yes.
Let,
And
I'll wait. No,
actually, now it's the selectmen are talking, so,
that's
but
why
I
I'm
will be
waiting.
glad- actually, please let me finish. What I'll
That's
do-
I was waiting.
what I'll do is I'll go to the Board of Finance and let them make the decision.
My thought was, and one other question regarding this proposal. I know that the historical commission had commissioned plans to be
Right,
done,
for a society, Bill, not a commission.
Well, please let him at least finish his thought.
and
I'm sorry, Catherine.
You, okay, please let the other selectman finish his thought.
my question, because I understand, and I had talked to Chris about this last week briefly, the plans that were commissioned for that building and the renovations thereof were paid for by the historical society.
The
And
architect plans, Bill.
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Bob Hurd's architectural plans.
correct.
Catherine, do we know that we have I know at our last meeting, if Bob Hurd hadn't got back to us by this meeting, we were going to actively consider looking perhaps to another firm to assist us.
And actually, oh, I'm sorry. You want to finish your thought?
My question is, do we have the permission from, do we need it from Bob Hurd, or do we have the permission of the Ashford Historical Society to use those plans if we were to go out and try to solicit another architect because Bob Hurd was too busy or whatever his reason, he may not want to work on this?
I believe that we would have to have Mr. Hurd's permission to use his plans.
Not true. They belong to us. We paid for them.
Okay, my question, and what I'm hearing between the shortage of $1,000 on what's in the budget right now, Catherine, and this question, I think we ought to put this on our agenda for our next meeting for a final decision.
Okay, that's fine.
With those two questions, one is, will the Board of Finance go along with an appropriation of an additional $1,000? And two, checking with whoever you need to check with or whatever to make sure the plans that the Ashford Historical Society paid for can be used by the town if we were to go out and solicit another scope of work from another architect.
Right.
I'd be very careful. I'd be very careful on that because then we will have to get our attorney involved.
I am going to get the attorney involved to make sure.
Thank you. They belong to us. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you mean your attorney as opposed to town council? Okay.
Our attorney. You cannot use our architectural drawings without our approval. They're not Bob Hurd's. We paid for them.
I heard that.
All right. I'm just clarifying.
So
that's why I asked if we could meet, to help you guys. We're not trying to be forceful or anything on this. This is a community project. We're trying to make this work out for the whole town. Nothing to do with us.
Let's make sure. Oh, yes. Well, let's make sure what you say you're going to use that building for.
Not us. It's a town building. And the purpose in the grant was to use it for a museum through the Connecticut Preservation that gave the town $15,000 matching grant. Taxpayers paid the other $15,000.
We know.
This is Gina Burnham again. May I have permission to speak?
Yes.
So I just find it concerning that it keeps coming up over and over again what the purpose is for the building. Because we've been to the Board of Selectmen on a number of occasions. I have in front of me a memo I wrote September 4th, 2018 to the Board of Selectmen. I met with all of you personally to outline the purpose of it as a town museum. When it was renovated on the outside, the exterior of the building, it was for the purpose of a town museum.
Okay,
So I
so,
think that's been very clear.
okay, so I guess from my perspective, if I understand correctly from what the plans were or whatever, there was to be an upstairs. Is that correct?
The upstairs, may I speak?
I'm just asking if there was to be an upstairs.
The upstairs, Catherine, was not available, and Bob Hurd can verify this, for the public. The upstairs was to be used to put the artifacts for the society and sort out the historical artifacts for the town and
Right.
display them downstairs.
And the reason I asked the question is because it wouldn't be ADA compliant.
Well, the ADA, and you can ask Bob Hurd again, would be through sharing that walkway that's into the little red office building. Part of that would be shared with this building through the backside, through the bathroom area. It's in the drawings.
But not to go upstairs. Bill, you were asking?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we originally talked about paying Bob Hurd some more money and getting some clarifications was because some of the confusion maybe that has transpired over the years. We've all been working on this for years and years.
Yes.
What we were talking about, Catherine, was the second floor, as Joan alluded to, was just going to be for storage because it did not meet ADA or a number of other issues that concerned it regarding structural capabilities of the second floor. But what we were talking about originally with that building was adding an addition on
The back.
with a environmentally controlled area.
We never went that far, Bill. We
Okay.
were just working with the little cape.
If I could just finish.
Sure.
And I think what was clarified, and it could have been Bob Hurd, that that addition onto the back that was originally talked about, we found was within the 100-year floodplain.
Right.
And because of that, that had to be taken out of consideration.
And I thought the addition included the vault.
Frankly, that I don't, you could be right, Catherine. I don't remember that.
Because, when we had Bob Hurd in here, we talked a little bit about that. So I asked him to make sure in his plan that he indicated how he was going to handle issues around the floodplain, because I thought that was an important thing to have. And he agreed to that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Who is it?
Kay. Kay Warren.
Kay? Yes, Kay.
Isn't the present town hall in the floodplain, the new town hall?
Not the same floodplain. It's a different one and a different
But
kind.
it still got built in a floodplain. I just want to clarify that.
The town office building, I believe, Kay, as I remember, and again, we're going back years, is within the 500-year floodplain.
Right.
I believe the back of the Tremco house, because of its location to the Hope River, is in the 100-year floodplain.
That's correct.
And there's quite a difference.
That water level in back of the new town hall almost came up at that last storm that we had.
Well,
So
I know that.
pretty
We should
close
all
to
run
being
over to
in a
check the
500-year floodplain.
Okay. So anyway, if I understand correctly, we're going to cover this at our next meeting. And one more time, Bill, in terms of me going to the Board of Finance, I would not do that until after the next meeting, or would I go to them to say, hey, are you going to give us another $1,000 for this?
Well,
Do I need to know that before our next meeting?
yeah, as a suggestion, Catherine.
Yeah.
I would suggest you have a sidebar discussion with Chuck. Tell him that our intent, if everything falls in line, is to probably request an additional $1,000 to that $5,000 under the capital improvement fund,
Yeah, I'll do
and
that.
ask him what process he'd like us to follow.
Yeah. He just sent out, an email explaining the purchase of the equipment that we just got for the,
Okay.
help us with our storm work.
Okay. Good.
He sent that out to his board, but so this will be one more on top of it.
I mean, I just think the reason why I support Bob Hurd's proposal, and I let him know I was a bit concerned that it took him so long to get back to us. I mean, this has been going on several years now. But I
Yeah.
think if we were to decide to go out for a new architectural firm, everything considered, it would cost us a great deal more money than this $6,000
Right,
to do the same thing we want done.
right. And this particular what he needs to do is he needs to show us in a sense the feasibility of this in terms of how it could be mapped out to get the work done and how much it would cost.
Yeah.
So that we all understand what we're really working with here.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Did you say that his what he proposed is on the website?
Yeah.
Ashford's website?
Yep.
Okay. What is it under, Kath?
It's under meeting materials.
Okay. I'll look at that.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Thank
see
you.
anything that would be an excerpt. Let's see.
All right.
And I have another question, Catherine.
Who is that, Kay?
Yes. Is there any way in the future that we as a historical society or the board of directors or whatever can be notified when you're discussing things with the Tremco House, that we can be a part of it?
Actually, what we did was we put it on the agenda. We've had it on the agenda and we've talked about it every meeting one way or another. So ever since doing the reach out to Mr.
I'm referring to back in the minutes, I think they were in, where you wanted to meet with Bob Hurd, but you wanted to meet alone with Bob Hurd and none of us around.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I was talking to him about what he needed to put together in his proposal, which was appropriate. I wasn't asking him about, I wasn't asking him to prove the value of doing it or anything like that.
Okay.
It was merely to actually get the proposal written up.
Yeah, because we really want to work with you.
Be in it, and that is what the selectmen should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, because we really want to work with you guys.
Yes, Bill.
Are we through with this item?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I noticed Melissa's staying on, and I know she has babies, and I noticed Linda's here.
I agree.
Hey, I'm going to leave. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Are they here to discuss something that's on the agenda, or could we move them up so we don't have to tie them up any longer than we?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Well, the one thing that we were talking about that Melissa was here about was about using American Rescue funds to help families disenfranchised by COVID. And
I'd be glad to move that up to next on the agenda if we can relieve her a little bit.
do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much, Bill. All right, so this one, we are now under, bear with me. American Rescue Plan Potentials for Project Funding. So with this, what I was suggesting is that we set aside or earmark, doesn't mean it comes out of the fund, it just means that we know that we have that much to work with for families that go through the vetting process to get some relief if they've been adversely impacted by COVID. And in the American Rescue Plan, they actually do talk about people who lost their jobs or had their hours cut, those kinds of things. And this one happens to qualify. And I say this one, I'm not thinking it's only one person. And we have a limited amount of, I'm going to call them contributions that are made by the public to the fund that Melissa has to manage for people that are in need in town. And she, you know, when I look at who's capable of determining who is really adversely impacted by COVID, she's the one who knows how to vet them. So, Melissa, could you speak to, you know, what you've seen and, you know, some the kinds of things that you've been hearing from people about how COVID has impacted them? A good example is this person who you
So
brought.
since the beginning of the pandemic, we've been helping people. I was fortunate to be able to receive a grant for $5,000 at the very beginning that I was able to pay for various things. Some of it was rent, some of it was food assistance before the government had kicked in the extra food assistance that they were doing. There was some heating assistance that we did. And then once that money ran out, I started reaching out to like Salvation Army. We did use some of the donated money that people had mailed in. There was a few really generous residents that donated their stimulus checks to us, and I used that to pay some people's rent. So there are other funds available to people with evictions. I think it was like 2 days ago, they ended the moratorium on evictions. So people now will start getting evictions from their landlords. But a lot of the people that will qualify for those owe months and months and months, if not a year's worth of rent that they haven't paid. And we still may get some of those that are going to ask Ashford to help. I don't know if we'll really be in a position to do that. But I wanted to be able to start helping the people that had smaller amounts of money that they owed. So this first family that I came to Catherine about they only owed 1 month of past due rent. So I figured it was an easy fix. You know, she has a job, she can keep paying her rent. She just can't get back, you know, can't save that $950 that she owed. So I'd like a way to be able to start helping people that owe, you know, the smaller chunks of money, not the months and months and months at this point.
Melissa, have you had any people, as I'd mentioned earlier in the meeting, I think you were with us, I've had, you know, several people, a couple of them I go to church with, that mention that they're having difficulties or they're back on their mortgage payments. Have you had that sort of scenario presenting itself?
So I've had a few people call about mortgage help, and unfortunately in this area, and I'm not quite sure, I don't really understand why we can't get mortgage help in the northeast corner. It's Hartford County and New Haven County are the only ones that the government has allotted mortgage funds for. I keep looking into it to find out, you know, why it's not the entire state. But I haven't helped anyone with mortgage because that requires going through banks. It's so much harder than just calling somebody's landlord or, you know,
Yeah.
real estate company and saying, how can I help them with rent? Because mortgage companies, you have to go through that whole mortgage process with them.
Yeah. My other question is, if do you have any way to judge a ballpark figure if we felt that these were funds that were going to be able to be available through the rescue fund? How much money, ballpark wise, would you feel comfortable with us trying to apportion to your department?
I was hoping for about like 15 to 20,000 because I started with, like I said, I was given $5,000 from the Northeast Communities Foundation at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And I think I helped 10 families with that money. And like I said, there was food as well. So that, you know, it kind of had to go to more families because people were really struggling food wise those first few months. But now that we're looking at rents and once heating assistance ends, I think, you know, getting heating for some families is going to be important as well.
Does that 15 or 20 include the heating element of it? Melissa?
I did everything.
Everything? Ballpark figure. How many clients, just one more question. How many clients do you have today as compared to pre-COVID that you're assisting?
It's hard to say. I would say I probably would picked up maybe like 30 to 50 more. It kind of comes and goes because some people were so overwhelmed at the very beginning and they
Yeah.
just didn't know what to do and came for help. But once they kind of figured out what to do and then the stimulus money started coming in, or if they were, got unemployment, they were getting that extra $300, they kind of found their way and they didn't need help anymore. So the beginning was a lot more than it is right now.
Well, I'm sure you help with that process too. I mean, um, people reach out. We've got a professional like yourself in that position that thank God can assist. Do you think your clientele list has increased in the past 15 months by 20%, 30%?
I'd say like 30%.
Okay. Okay. That's all I had, Catherine. I would certainly support, coming up with something agreeable between you and Roger and myself, to try to apportion part of the rescue plan into that. Of everything I've read, and that stuff gets laborious, I think probably our most needy sticks out the most, uh, with being eligible.
Well, my suggestion was to earmark 20,000 so she knows what she's working with, for one. And with the vetting process, I'm very confident that Melissa knows who to help as long as they're reaching out to her, and to be able to assess what the impact has been to them.
I'd be glad to support a motion for that. Again, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but us to be aware of that because of the definitions of what we can apply those funds for, we stand the risk of being turned. I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think you do, but we stand the risk of being turned down for some technicality on
Yeah,
those funds. Hope it
there's a
doesn't happen. I'm willing to take the gamble, but I think we've got to keep that in mind on all of
I
this
think
stuff.
that also, like, we can put in place guidelines. Like, I mean, I have guidelines for every program that I do, but for this specifically, I would suggest having like written out guidelines of how someone has to qualify and the proof that they must show of how they were affected, whether it's, a pink slip or something showing that the money wasn't going into a bank account, something official showing how they were affected by COVID.
and actually,
Yeah.
we've done a little looking around at some other towns that
I
have.
was just going to ask that. Have we consulted? Are there any other towns that are looking at those funds as a resource for themselves?
Well, I really,
Mansfield has been using some, and I've looked a lot at their paperwork and how that they've been assessing clients.
Okay, good. Do you need a motion, Catherine?
I'd like one because that will help us when we are using the monies for something or earmarking them for something. I want to make sure we have a good audit trail on what we're doing.
Absolutely. And this is probably one more subject when you have your sidebar meeting with Chuck to let him know that, where our thoughts were. But I'll make a motion to authorize an expenditure up to $20,000
Mhm.
for our social service department, Melissa, to administer.
Out of the relief funds.
American Relief Fund,
Yeah.
yes.
A rescue fund. Yep.
Rescue Fund, sorry.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your patience, Melissa.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, we have Linda on, and Linda, I didn't know where you wanted to talk with us or if you were just following along.
I was just following along and I'll say goodnight now. I had so much work to do. I thought, I'll just work and I'll listen to what's going on at our selectmen's meeting. But no, I had nothing particular and was just trying to put out a number of fires.
Actually, I do want to make a comment. Linda, she worked this past weekend, putting in a lot of extra hours, working on the whole thing of collecting the taxes. We have some people who are, really don't like to pay their taxes, and so she takes a bit of abuse. She does a fine job, and I can sympathize with her when she's trying to keep that smile on behind her in her office while they're doing that.
We're blessed to have her. Linda, any idea? I know it's early, but any idea on how we're doing percentage-wise with
Oh,
collections?
yeah, I just looked at it, and the motor vehicles, well, and I still have a number of problems that I have to identify that are not posted for numerous reasons, but motor vehicles was at 63 point, I'm not sure. Real estate was just under 50%, and again, I have a number of things that I still have to go through in the personal property. Alls I know is when I finished on Saturday, it was something like $5,300,000, and today I put through 330,000 in one batch and 70 some in another batch. And the bank said when we put the first one through, you're $73,000, 73,000 over your limit, even though you have $1 million left. And I'm like, what is going on? Oh my gosh. The last couple of days when you come in and all of a sudden the computers don't want to cooperate and come on, or the bank is
Of
saying
course.
you can't scan.
Never happens during a quiet time, Linda.
Exactly. But the money is rolling in. That's all I know. It's rolling
Good,
in.
good.
And
So you, without nailing you down, you'd say that we're on a par with prior year's collections or better?
yes,
Good,
yes,
good,
yes. It's slammed. It's slammed.
good.
I liked it last year because it was stretched out a little where the
Yeah.
volume wasn't as great. But yeah,
Well, and you had the deferred payment program in,
that's
right?
that's
So,
what I'm referring to.
yeah,
Yeah, last year with the deferral, but this year, we're back on track.
excellent. Very good. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you
All
for
right.
what you do.
Thank you,
Yep,
Linda.
thank you. Thank you. And
See
good
you
night to
tomorrow.
everyone. I'm going
Good
home.
night.
Mhm. All right.
Okay, now let's get back on track with the rest of the sequence here. Under new business, item A, dissolution of transfer station committee formed by the Board of Selectmen on November 16th, 2009, and formation of a transfer station use policy committee comprised of Charles Atkins, Terry Wakeman, Charles Bussey, and Christine Abakoff. They are pretty much the most knowledgeable people and about what this entails. So, do you have any questions about this? We've been wanting
Well,
to
I am not at a point where I'm willing to support this right now for a couple of reasons. This is the first I've heard about it. We have, I put a call into Keith. I don't know if Keith's still with us or not, who had been one of the charter members of this committee when we originally appointed it. And from all that I know about, been an active member and a participant, not, and I can't say that for all of the members that we had appointed to that over the years. I did put a call in for Tom Welsh. I was not able to talk to him, but I know Keith wasn't contacted or anything, and I'm just a bit concerned of where this came from, why it's on the agenda for now. I know we went to the problem during the last committee that we put together. We had them put together a mission statement and try to keep track of exactly what they were doing. I don't see any of that with this proposed new committee.
I understand what you're saying. Actually, we did talk about this at the beginning of the year about getting the transfer station committee back up and running. Looking at some of the people that were on it before, I don't think Tom was interested in being on it again. I
The
didn't
last time I spoke to Tom was during that period, and he was at that time, and I know he's had some health issues since then.
Right. Right.
But at that time, he was interested. But not knowing this was going to be on the agenda, or we were having resuming discussions regarding it, I thought those discussions we had a number of months ago were convening the committee that we appointed last December.
Well, actually, we don't need to make a decision on this tonight. This is
Okay.
a topic for discussion.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so I hope that's appropriate.
Oh, that's fine. I'm happy to discuss it, but
Okay.
as I preface my comments, I'm just not in a position that I'm comfortable with saying we're going to dissolve a committee that we just appointed a year or so ago, and not knowing that we had not talked to all of those committee meetings.
All right.
It's tough
So,
enough to get volunteers. I want to make sure nobody gets their nose bent out of shape and we're all on the same page on this. That's all.
right. And what I would hope is that the selectmen would put together a mission statement. Okay, for this. But let's talk about what the issues are right now down at the transfer station. We have people who are dumping that shouldn't be. We have trying to keep track of the transfer station stickers, all of that. We know that our costs for the transfer station keep going up. I think they went up 35,000 in the budget this year, for this year. And so it's really to look at, for that committee to look at how can we make improvements in terms of how we're monitoring who's coming in. You know, right now, it doesn't seem to be a very effective way of making sure the right people are, the people who should be able to dump things there are the ones that are dumping them. And also we have some people coming in with, 4 truckloads of stuff regularly. So my hope would be that this committee would look at those things, and if Keith is a person who's interested in being on the committee, great.
Absolutely. I don't know. Keith, are you still with us?
Yes, yes.
Oh, Keith,
Yeah, I would do it. Yes, I am.
I don't see you.
Yeah, I'd be
I'm sorry.
interested.
Oh,
I don't think his name is showing, Catherine. I think he's under caller 00.
oh, all right. Thank you. I had no idea.
I announced myself at the beginning.
So you're on record. You're interested in being on the committee, which is great.
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So
the only thing I might mention, Catherine, if we were to go back 5 years ago and make a list 1 through 5 or 6 of our issues at the transfer station, they'd be exactly the same thing you're just talking about. Stickers. I used to pull my hair out, and I don't have any hair left to do that anymore. Every time I'd come in to dump my 2 or 3 little bags of garbage and see these huge trucks that have big signs on the side of them that have nothing to do with Ashford throwing stuff in our various bins there. I mean, but all of the things of concern that you mentioned, ditto.
Okay. So if you go to Willington, you don't get in unless you have a pass. Okay. They don't have to try and turn you around inside the place or stop you once you're already in there and up to the bins, which is, I suspect, is pretty difficult to do. Having been there myself and had somebody, throw a bag of trash because he was irritated that just missed a woman's face, I can tell you that some people get quite vociferous. So the way we're set up right now, and I'm not on the committee, nor am I asking to be on the committee, I think that the way we're stationed, if you will, doesn't make it very easy for these guys to push people back.
You will be on the committee whether you want to or not, ex officio.
Oh, good. Thanks. I forgot.
I mean, one of the things when we reactivated this committee and with COVID and whatever other circumstances, I was anxious to attend meetings because I have some suggestions about traffic flow. I too have visited several transfer stations around us. I didn't have to go too far. They have a booth there with one of their staff at the driveway with a turnaround area.
Right.
You don't have a sticker, you go home.
Exactly.
And I think that would alleviate a lot of the concerns that I think we're all expressing.
Right, and right there is probably, to me, the most important place.
I do. I feel the same. And you know, there's one of the personnel assigned to be in that little garage. And again, if you don't have that sticker, or you don't have a good excuse, or you don't have proof that you're representing somebody and doing a job for them, you don't dump.
I even, when I was there some time back, talking with Charlie Bussey, it was kind of like, where could we do the turnaround? Where
Yep.
would we put the shack?
Yep.
And there are options there, but that's up to that committee to come up with. And I would hope,
Exactly.
yeah. And so, in terms of working on a mission statement, can I get at least one of you to work with me to put it?
I would be happy to
Good.
make suggestions. Keith, excuse me, Keith, didn't you folks have a mission statement?
Yes, we did.
Can you
I'd
forward the
have to dig
selectmen?
my,
Can you
yeah, I'd
forward
have
it?
to dig it out, but there should be in the records, unless somebody tossed all the transfer station
No.
committee records, everything would be in there.
All right. So we'll take the original one and see if it can be tweaked or if it looks good as it is. But you know, the reality is we definitely want to solve the problems. And actually, I was kind of hoping that we can do it in a relatively quick fashion. I don't want to be jumping the gun here, but something where it doesn't take 6 months to put something in place.
Well, it sounds to me, I mean, we're not going to take action tonight and dissolve the existing committee.
Right.
And most of the people that are on that have expressed apparently an interest to you of serving on a new committee are on the old committee. So, you know, I think we can look forward to start setting some meetings up. I'd be glad to help with the mission statement, fine tune whatever we have or change it or whatever. But ask the existing members to convene and see if we want to change the complex of that existing committee.
Okay.
I mean, Charlie was on the old one. Chuck Atkins was on the old one. I think Terry Wakeman was on the old one. I'm not sure. Chris,
No,
you,
he wasn't.
No, Terry wasn't.
he wasn't. Well, he'd
No.
be a good asset to that,
That's what we thought.
you know.
Okay. All right. And the other thing was to also is not to make it so big and cumbersome that they don't get to an agreement. You know, just make sure we have the right people there.
Well,
That
we want open debate, but I agree with you. I don't think anybody that I know of is interested in going into this thing and clogging the situation. I think
yeah,
from the beginning, everybody we had on that committee, although some of them were more argumentative than others,
that's what I heard.
we're looking to improve things down there.
And
You know,
one thing
the
too,
original committee,
Charlie Bussey wasn't on the committee before, and Charlie's there. He's the supervisor.
He'd be an excellent one on it.
Absolutely, he has ideas.
you know,
Keith,
the
you were saying
original
something?
committee, yeah, the original committee, one of the reasons it took so long is that we were going through the grant process. And that was, you know, we visited, you know, other transfer stations. We went down, you know, to look at, you know, the where all of our stuff goes to see their process, and just getting the paperwork in. And of course, we were successful in getting the money, the grant money, to set it up the way that it is, and with the idea too that the way it's set up now would allow for it to be adaptable to new regulations. So a lot of that was the time-consuming part, but I think we have a good foundation to work from, and we shouldn't have to take as long. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and we've had to, we've experienced, you know, what the setup is now. I mean, the setup was changed at that point in time, and now we've lived with it, and we know where we might want to tweak it, so to speak, or change it dramatically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. So that wasn't so bad. Communication strategies. That's our next thing. consider implementation of TextMyGov in conjunction with an emergency notification system. Again, as I indicated, Everbridge is free, but it is only what we would be putting through TN. It's not that kind of a communication system where you're actually able to engage the public. So we'd already presented the estimates before. I know, Bill, you've seen the tool, gotten to experience it through your own cell phone. And I can, again, trying to reach the broadest audience possible when it comes to,
That's gonna be the trick to it.
yeah.
I mean, you can
Well,
lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I would hope that we can use our imaginations, as long as with the professional abilities of this company,
Yep.
to attract people to partake.
Right. And I think one thing that's good is they do have a good marketing plan, supposedly. That's what I heard from Wolcott. And it's a matter of, he said, you just have to keep at it. You can't just throw it out there once or twice. You have to keep at it until, and until, in some cases, until word of mouth goes, hey, yeah, I get this information. Okay.
I'd dedicate a full page for 6 months in the Citizen, and whatever else we can come up with, or your Facebook or whatever.
Yep. Twitter, etc.
Again, and I know with Roger and you and I, we all agree that life and safety issues are prominent concern and obligation, and I think this is easily addresses that concern.
I think also the other part of TextMyGov makes it so that if a person is trying to, I don't know, get some information about something where they would have called during the day, but they weren't able to, or whatever, they can text it in. We use the example of dog license. It took them right to the place that had information about dog licenses. I do find our website to be very cumbersome when you're trying to look for something. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is right now. And so anything that makes it easier for people to find the information they're looking for, or to get an answer to a question, to me is good. And to be able to do it, to be able to do it when we're not even here and get the answer, because you wouldn't believe how many times somebody like Linda gets the same question asked of her time and time and time again. So anyway, we know that the first year is, I think, $4,200, and the second year is $3,000.
And we are going to designate these funds out of the
American Rescue Fund.
rescue fund.
Yep.
I will make that motion, Catherine.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Even
Any
though
more
I-
discussion? Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Now, that company is raring to get going.
Well, and we'll be there, their second town in Connecticut? They got to be happy to have that too.
We expect to be treated royally, believe me. Okay.
You mentioned websites. Did you happen to go into the Walcott website?
Let me think for a second. Yes, I went in because I was looking to see who the guy was I was going to be talking with.
Okay. Ours is much better than theirs as far as I'm concerned.
Have you been into the Willington website?
No.
Please do me a favor, go there and see how it's much more oriented to humans.
Well,
you don't need to be a techno jock to find your way through.
Good, because I'm not.
Well, these things need to be intuitively obvious, and they can't assume that people just know how to.
Yeah. Sorry.
I know that's not my dog, because my dog's on mute. Okay, let's move on down to board, if it's okay with you, board, commission, and committee appointments.
Please.
Okay. And before I do that, I'm just going to make sure I'm going to get the contract with Everbridge, which is free, and get that signed and get us going. whatever the
Hey,
agreement.
Catherine, this is Keith again with Everbridge. The company I work for uses Everbridge to notify employees of any kind of a emergency situation like snowstorms, office closings, what have you.
So let me
And it
tell you
works
something
very
about,
well.
yeah. And also, clearly, Tom Borgman is very familiar with Everbridge. And the person I was talking with at Everbridge, I know Christine knows him very well as well. He's one of the people who actually works it. And one thing he was describing is that some towns decide that they want to use a kind of like a different group. They want to use it for purposes it really wasn't necessarily meant for, and they end up setting up their own database. And what happens is that reverse 911 and all of that doesn't work right, because what they have is they'll have two databases and they have to try and figure out a way to merge them. I know that sounds kind of technical, but for this town, I would hope that we would use it the way it was intended to be used when we contact TN to put a message out, and not something where we're doing anything that is, I don't want to call it frivolous, but this fluffy stuff going out, because they said other towns have done some of that, and it creates a nightmare for managing the phone numbers, etc., the people that they're supposed to be notifying. So Keith, that was Keith, right, that was talking?
Yeah.
Keith,
Yes.
when you're talking about them using it to notify people about snowstorms and stuff, is that where they call up TN and they say, this is the message we want put out? Or is that something where they're putting out the message themselves?
Well, they contact Everbridge because the message comes to me. I get a text message on my cell phone,
Yep.
and I get a voicemail message on my home phone.
And you get an
And
email.
it'll tell like there'll be a delay and like a delayed office opening due to weather or something like that, or office closed because of no power, something of that sort.
Yeah, with the state of Connecticut, I'm on their Everbridge for DCF,
Yeah.
and they notify, my home phone, my cell phone, both my cell phone numbers. Whenever there's a closure in an office or computers are down in particular, weather issues, local issues. We had a shutdown because of an active shooter one day. We've always found that to work excellent.
Right, and that's the state doing that.
Yeah.
But like I said, there are some municipalities that, in a sense, they kind of put in their own messaging and don't adhere by the criteria that Everbridge has.
Yeah.
And that creates a problem. So we have the criteria that Everbridge has for doing their messaging, which I'll share with you guys.
Well,
Anyway.
we'll add this new one to just, help our resources.
Yep.
Included in the meeting materials, there is a system policy that was put out by the Commissioner of DESPP. And it's titled Connecticut Alert Emergency Notification System Policy. It was put out in 2012, and the understanding that we have from Doug Rassicott is that this has not been updated. These policies are still in effect as to what we're being offered through TN.
So what I see here, if I got this straight, is activation criteria. Severity, is there a significant threat to one or more individuals' life or safety? Public protection, is there a need for members of the public to take a protective action in order to reduce harm or loss of life? Warning, will provide warning information to assist members of the public in making the decision to take proper and prudent actions to increase safety. Timing, does the situation require immediate public knowledge in order to avoid adverse impact to life or safety? Geographic area, is the situation limited to a defined geographic area? Is that area of a size that will allow for effective use of the system given the outgoing call capacity? Are there other means of disseminating the information inadequate to ensure proper and timely delivery of the information? So that's the basic activation criteria for this. So anyway,
Okay,
thank
I'm going to drop
thank
off
you,
now.
Keith, for that information.
All right.
Have a good
welcome.
night, Keith. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Board, commission, committee appointments. Inland Wetlands and Water Courses fill alternate vacancy created by the resignation of Ken Gary. We don't have anybody for that one at this point. Ashford School Building Committee fill a vacancy created by the resignation of Michael Kovarovic, sorry. It must be filled by a person with experience in the construction industry. And Chris,
We have a recommendation for that, don't we?
I think,
Yes.
yes, we do.
I'll move the recommendation by Jim Rupert.
Do we have a second?
I'm just looking for the recommendation. Who was the recommendation?
It was an email, and they're recommending a gentleman by the name of, bear with me,
Pretty qualified guy.
Ronald Stanley. Lives on
Okay.
Kenniston Reservoir Road.
All right, I'll second it.
Thank you. Any more
Apparently,
discussion?
he's got a construction and architectural background, Roger.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah, that's, we, wouldn't necessarily bring someone forward that didn't have it because they need
Yep.
it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, Board of Assessment Appeals, fill vacant Democratic seat. I don't think we have anybody there. Recreation Commission, fill 2 alternate seats, terms to expire March 31st, 2024 and March 31st, 2025. I think,
I will move the appointment to fill the term to expire in 2024, the appointment of Elena Filipito.
excellent. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that one?
No, but
Bill,
she's a newcomer that's recently come to town in the past year or year and a half, I believe.
Yep.
And is anxious to get involved, and we certainly welcome as many that want to do that as possible.
Absolutely.
I'm delighted that we could add another enthused person to the Recreation Commission.
We may have another person coming up, but I don't want to tip my hat until we have a commitment.
Sounds
Okay.
good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. And Commission on Aging, fill vacancy created by the resignation of Elaine Wilms Pandolfo. The term associated with Ms. Wilms Pandolfo's seat expires June 30th, 2023. I don't know that we have someone for that one, do we?
No.
No.
Yeah.
You missed Board of Assessment Appeals.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think we had someone for that. Board of
That's the one the
Assessment.
Democratic Town Committee put up.
Oh, that's right, we do. And that is Nyanyu. Say it right. Williams, I think her last name is.
Stevens.
Stevens, sorry. Okay, can we have a motion for that one?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. It's so nice to now have some people filling these positions. They've been open for a
Absolutely.
while.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tax refunds, we don't have any, do we, Chris?
No.
No? Okay. I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
Have you reached out to Tom Borgman yet about the fire department's any requirements taking advantage of the?
No, I haven't, but only because I haven't had a chance to have the conversation.
Okay.
So, last week was very busy. Excuse me. Excuse me. I will reach out to him this week.
Excellent. Okay.
Oh, and
Roger's reminded me, with our material, with our package here, I noticed the abatement list from the fire department. Is that something we have to take action on tonight?
Yes, you have to add that to the agenda. There were 2 things to add to the agenda.
oh,
I will move that to add that to the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. And I will move to approve the list as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
We had one more thing here. And
You
I,
know, I have a question to that, and probably next year is not going to be the year to do that. But is there any statutory limitation on what that credit can be for our fire department members?
It's an ordinance.
It's our ordinance, and
Yes.
are we allowed to modify that?
we're putting a 1099 on them as it is anyhow, so I would imagine we could increase it because we're taxing them on it.
I
Well,
don't think
if the
that's
amount is in the ordinance, you have to have a town meeting to change the ordinance.
well,
well,
it's based on the statute, and I think that the $1,000 is statutory.
you believe it's a maximum?
I think so. I have to look.
Can you research that and then let us know? I really think, Catherine, you know, with the difficulties in attracting volunteers
Mm-hmm.
and membership and everything, I think any incentives that we can come up with that make sense will certainly benefit our town.
I agree. And I'm looking to see, did we have anything else, Chris, that needed to be
Yeah,
added?
the other thing was approval of the 2021 Nipmuc Trail Marathon. They've been doing this for the past forever.
400 years.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda.
Do
I'll
we have a
second
second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All
I will
right, now,
make the motion to approve that, citing them submitting their insurance form to the selectman's office.
And communicating with Ashford Fire about the potential. I've had to
Absolutely.
haul a few of them runners off the mountain.
Okay, good idea.
thank you. Okay, a second?
I'll second.
That is the second, okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have anything else from your end, Chris?
No.
I'm thinking I missed something. I think I missed on the American Rescue Plan. I couldn't remember if we approved the evaluation of the buildings, HVAC, et cetera. So Bill, I know that you had some concerns about the senior.
We did that at the last meeting.
I thought we did. I couldn't remember. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I didn't miss it.
I had some comments on the minutes, but other than that, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Very
We
good.
added the fire department, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
I
Anything
move
else?
adjournment.
Second.
We have a second?
Second.
Oh, thank God. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you.
Good night, folks. Stay safe.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
John.